Hello everybody, this is Backblast. Here I am again on Planet Zoo and we're on the Pangea map today. I'm building a monorail station which, although I'm placing it into my Africa zone, I didn't want it too African themed. I wanted it to look more like a big old grand railway station, but still look smart enough for a modern animal park, theme park type place. So I've gone for a big grand building rather than a themed building, but I think it looks quite nice when it's finished. Especially love the chandeliers. They're a great feature. I was very pleased with those. So I've seen a lot of comments on various forums and Facebook and whatnot about people saying, oh, how do I make my zoo interesting? They always turn out to be quite square and blocky and that sort of thing. And I think this map is the answer to that. So what I did was, before I started on this map, I terraformed it all. I made sure that there was hills, rivers, lakes, that sort of thing, so that when I'm building, I'm finding that, I can't build that building where I wanted it to be. There's a big lake with a rock form next to it. So instead of building a visitors centre where I wanted it, it's now being perched halfway up the rock wall as something that people need to go up some stairs to get to. And I've already built bridges, and there's a few other bits that I've dug tunnels through part of the mountain. And it at the moment, the Africa area, because Africa's Africa's quite a nice place to build, but it is actually in a flattish part of my map. There is water running through that bit, but it is still a flat-ish area. So when I start getting into the other parts of the map, I'm going to be forced to build paths that go up and down hills. Some of the enclosures will be on hills, and maybe not even, so it might mean that there's like a path runs along the bottom of an enclosure, but then there's a visitor's viewing area at the top of the enclosure, and it's just going to force me to adapt to the terrain a bit more. And rather than placing a big square enclosure on the floor, I'm going to have to just build around whatever we've got. So as I said, I've already built bridges and things like that, so the bridges are interesting in themselves. I just think that that's a good way to stop you from building the same old thing every time. So if you don't want to build a flat zoo with the same old square or rectangular enclosures, then start with something that isn't going to let you do that. I got rid of these fountains eventually. I didn't like them. They were dropping out of the bottom of the building. I didn't like it. So one of the other things that I find helps you with not building a big square old zoo is putting things in between your enclosures. So don't build the enclosures necessarily next to each other, but have little bits in between. So the rock formation you can see there, it's actually a walkthrough, and it's got a couple of enclosures in it. Not enclosures, the exhibits. So there's some Goliath beetles and things in there. But it's things like the area that's just next to this bit that I'm building now. There's a little green area in between here and the path. Eventually that's going to have a generator on it, and it'll be there you go, there's a generator, and it's going to be themed around there, some rocks and some trees. And if you put things in between your exhibits, it then forces you to put paths in different areas. So your path doesn't necessarily run alongside the exhibit, it might run past a rock formation. There's a flower garden as well further up here. It's just on the right, you can't quite see it. And it's things like this that I'm building now. It's just so that you add something in between the exhibits that make it more interesting for people to walk through. So yeah, I was saying there's a little flower patch just to the right of where I'm building, and it's got a couple of palm trees in it, it's got some flowers, and I think a little stone border around it, and it's not much, but it just divides up some pathways. It means the pathways have to go around it, and also it means that you can't just put a big square enclosure there, you have to then build round whatever it is you've already put. So if you think about going to your local zoo, it generally, modern zoos certainly, they don't tend to have enclosure. It tends to be an enclosure, and then there'll be a bit of a seating area or somewhere where you can get food, or it might just be a bit that's landscaped. There might be some gardens there, or an interesting building that isn't necessarily an animal building. And it just breaks up the zoo. I originally toyed with the idea of putting a roof in there, but only partially. So there were some bits that were roof. And then still have this big sort of domed roof on top that you could see through the roof there. But I decided I didn't like that so much. So we got rid of it. We played with it. We tried something. Didn't like it. Now, I apologise, you can see it keeps going to my music selection there, so obviously as I'm building I listen to music, and I can't then leave that music in the game or else I'll get copyrighted and I'll get a slap on the wrist. So obviously I've got my recording software set up so it records everything, so you can see me going back in and just saying, play these 4 or 5 tracks, and play these 3, you know. So the roof didn't quite fit, so I needed to then shuffle along the big thick black bracing beams there. So this took a little while to just get right. I counted there were 13 beams on each of these hemispheres. It's not really a hemisphere, is it? What's a quarter of a sphere? Quarter sphere? Quad sphere? I don't know. I just put a little bit of gold. It's actually a piece of thin plank along the roof there, just as some gold trim, and it looked quite nice. And I wanted to put a gold, I don't know, a gold finial or something on there to just make it pop out a little bit more, you know, like a weather vane or something like that. But I decided against it eventually. The one thing I forgot with this building, and I remembered it this morning, I finished building this last night, or yesterday I finished building it. And then when I woke up this morning I thought, you know what, it needs signs on it. It needs like entrance and exit signs. And maybe some signs outside sort of pointing to it. I've done signs outside with other parts of the park, you know, saying this way to the tortoise or whatever it is I've got in there. And obviously there's a sign there, so when you're on the monorail coming into the station, you can see it says Africa there. And it's got African motifs on it. And that really is, I think it's the only real nod to Africa in there. I said I didn't want it being a massive themed station. I think with some of the other stations there will be, especially the fantasy area. That's going to be an interesting build there. So the fancy area is going to be lots of unusual buildings. So already I've got a building that's shaped like a Rubik's Cube. It's there in the distance. You can just see them in the distance. There's a big flower there that you can see curving over, and it's actually a street light, or it's going to be a street light, but it's going to be shaped and looking like a massive flower that overhangs the pathway. And I've got other buildings, so you might have seen me building, I think the video's called Build a Funky Shop or something like that, and it's got massive balloons on the roof. But there's others as well, like there's an ice cream shop with an upturned ice cream on top of it, which is really, really good. I'm very pleased with it. So the area is going to be like that. It's going to be very colourful, very bold, and it will have unusual things in it. Such as the flowers for street lights and things like that. I'm thinking of things like candy cane and big lollipops that are quite colourful. That sort of thing. I can't guarantee that I will build candy cane and lollipops. I felt this was a big open area here, and I just wanted to do something with it. Sort of jazz up the entrance to the actual building. So we put this hoop over the top. We're going to now build some concrete blocks for it to sit on. I was toying with the idea of putting a sign on there that says Monorail, but I couldn't find a vertical sign I liked. I might have to try and find some way of making some small lettering. And this is one of the favourite things about the build. When I finished it and I look back at it, this is one of the things that I really, really liked. I wanted some kind of light or a chandelier type thing inside. This is what we came up with. So the general colour scheme of the building is a very deep blue and very, very small amounts of gold. So as I said, I built the gold roof trim that just went along the top of the building. Well, the chandelier is going to be gold in colour as well. How do you suspend this? I'm trying to find the right piece of chain. Nothing seemed to work, so we need to just have a little fiddle with the top bit. There we go. A big old bracket to hold it up. So again, these chains are just hanging from nothing up in the ceiling, so we wanted something that they were hanging from. So we built a big beam going across, which doesn't poke out of the roof, and then a couple of wooden blocks above it just to hide the chain. So it looked really, really nice. And then finally, fill the end in, and then we're pretty much done. So I'll give you a quick look at the actual zoo, or as the actual building as it is now finished. So here it is in all its splendour. It's rather a jerky video. I'm sorry about that. That's it's not so great, is it? But you can see the entranceway there with the hoops above it and the African themed cloths hanging across. You can see the chandeliers, basically. There they are. They look really good in there. They really do. And then the exit comes out onto this raised balcony, and there's some shops on here. There's this little walkway that goes over the top of the monorail, so you can get from one side to the other. And then inside you've got the Africa sign, so you know which station you're coming into. And then again, coming round this side, you can see the actual entrance with the hoops and the various flags or cloths. And then inside, you have the chandeliers and the planters. That looks really good. I'm really quite pleased with it. It looks like a big old grand building. So the trick now is to get it to look as though it's part of the park rather than a building on its own. And that's what all the little bits on the outside are for. So the little bit of planting there with the logs, the planting underneath the track there, it's all just to integrate it into the park. So making sure it's not just a building stuck in the middle of somewhere, where you've actually got other things that you can go and look at. Like this little bit here. It's not actually a path through there or anything. It's just a little bit of rock work, just there to make things a bit more interesting. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that. I enjoyed. I like the finished building. I think that's a good looking thing. And for a monorail station, it really pops out. And I think it fits fairly well into the environment. It fits well with the raised platform there, and also the rock work brings it into the African theme. And that's about it, really. So I'm going to leave it there. If you've enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. That's very important for us as YouTubers, that we get that appreciation. But also, I'd like to just say thanks for watching. My name's Backblast, and I'll catch you next time.